I tell you, it's always the beginning of my things are always so interesting because it's always me talking about trying to make my technology work. Pathetic.
Starting now.
We're good. We are good. And here we are live on both Facebook and Instagram, primarily with my Facebook buddies who, again, guys, you know the drill. Come in, ring in, say hi, tell us where you're coming from so that Melissa feels some love here. And if nobody shows up, this is going to be my fault since I don't know how I lost a day. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, am I getting Alzheimer's? It was just the weirdest thing. I knew it was Monday morning, and then somehow my day got really busy. And I jumped today and thought it was Tuesday, and I'm all ready to start our thing. And then I'm wondering, well, why isn't Melissa ready to talk to me? That was just really, really, really weird. So we're here, and I'm hoping somebody's going to jump on with comments. It always reassures me, you guys. There we go. I see a heart, so now I know somebody loves us, so somebody's watching. So that's a good thing. And some of you, I don't know where you've been if you haven't heard of Melissa, because she is just becoming just a celebrity. I mean, your Instagram, Our Friendly Farmhouse on Instagram. Oh my gosh. If you guys are on Insta, in fact, anybody listening on Insta, if you are not watching her and seeing what's happening with the chickens, the ones of the chickens, the ducks going down the water slide into the wading pool. Such a cute post. Hey guys, thanks for letting me know you're here. By the way, I see we've got Susie ringing in and Barbara from Florida. Barbara, I don't know where Northeast Florida is. I think, weren't you one of the ones that said you might come see me on one of my Florida stops? I'm hoping I get some bodies there to come and hang out with me. But anyway, so yeah, if you guys, getting back to who this is about, not me, but her, Melissa, she is just amazing. Melissa, I want you to tell people just a little bit about your background as I'm waving to our people who are coming in now. Thanks for joining us from New Jersey. But you've got a very interesting, she's really a mover and shaker. She was already moving and shaking when I met her years ago as a sweet young thing. You have how many million degrees?
How many million degrees? I have a few degrees. I have a master's degree in biblical studies, and I ended up being an adjunct professor and a New Testament lecturer for a few years at our university until writing kind of took over, and I realized I can't do both anymore. So between children, which I have 4, and writing, that's kind of fills me up, and the ducks going down the slides.
Yes, I mean, they've got this cute little farmhouse that you have decorated so charmingly and redone. And I've enjoyed following all your adventures on Instagram. But so the book we're talking about today is your newest, How to Plot a Payback, but it's not your first. So book number what is this? Number 5?
Oh gosh. I'd be curious to hear your response on how many books you have too, because do you count novellas?
I think you should. Yeah, let's count your novellas.
Okay. Well, and then I also did a nonfiction for somebody else. So I think this is my 8th or 9th.
Okay. So you're booking right along. And she's such a sweet young thing, so she's really moving here. And we can see we've got the baby here with us. The kids were supposed to be put in bed, and she's so cute, and she's just wants to be part of things. So we have no problem with that. We're all here. We don't care, right?
Yeah, she came on my book tour last week and the week before and just would sit on my lap during my signings. It was a hoot.
Oh, that's so sweet. Very, very cool. Well, and this is the baby, and the one I remember you had quite some adventures with this one when you were pregnant, and it was kind of a dangerous situation for a while there. So we're happy that you survived all that.
I know. I'm kind of like perpetually, when they're like, it's the miracle baby, therefore she gets whatever she wants for the rest of her life. That's kind of how I am with this one. I'm like, oh, you want to sit with me forever? Okay, you can just cling. A cake pop at Starbucks.
Oh, her siblings are going to hate her. Oh my gosh. Oh dear. There'll come a point when you go, okay, honey, you're on your own.
I know, right? It hasn't happened yet.
The last one, that was us too, with our son, the baby and the boy, and he was just our little darling, and oh my goodness, so but he turned out okay. So, and I was the baby of the family too. I was way younger than my brothers. They were like 13 and a half and 17 when I was born, and the only girl. Wow. What a horrid, obnoxious child. I was the kind of child I can't stand. So I think I hope I grew out of that, but
I'm sure you were great.
Oh dear, but we digress. So I want to know, I remember you've done posts that you were working on writing for a really long time and had a lot of rejections. True?
Yeah. 9 years, I think, from when I started 8 years from when I started writing to when I had my first book come out. So, a lot of years of rejection, 4 years of writing a book, alone in my bedroom, not having a clue what I was doing, just loving what I was doing. And then, go get it. And then like another 4 years of rejection, and then a 3-book deal, and then publication of The Dating Charade. So,
and then voila, it happened. Wow.
yeah. And that was when I first met you at that conference. And you were
I
so
know we
sweet.
met in,
And you endorsed my very first one.
met in New York. I don't even know how that happened. We just all of a sudden we were talking. We met in New York. I think it was at an ALA conference way back when.
Yep, it was at an ALA conference. I think I reached out to you before I went to the conference because I was going to go with my publisher, and I said, hi, can I like meet with you or something, or say hello? And I think we ended up like having lunch, and then you ended up endorsing my first book. It was very, very sweet.
Well, and then you got me involved with your publisher. We got to do a Christmas anthology together, which was really fun. So
yes, let's see.
Things work.
Right here. I'm not sure if I do or not. Yeah, and then I just saw today that it's going to be split up too. So
yeah, they're going to split it up. So On the Way to Christmas is getting split up into 3 different novellas that people will be able to buy online, which is really cool. By the way, there's more people. Hello, Cindy. Hello to Pam. Hi, Virgie. And who else has come? Whoever else has come in here, I'm glad you're joining us. Thank you for coming. And we're just talking with Melissa about how after many years of trying, she finally got her career launched. So what was the one that launched it then? What launched your career? I mean, after that many years, I think a lot of people would be giving up because that's a long time to be writing and not having.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember I ended up driving for a while in that time period. I would drive 2 hours with my kids in tow to Knoxville every Monday, and then drive back. And I had 2 or 3, maybe I had 3 at the time, and they were all under 2.
Wow.
And so I'd be driving at like 10 o'clock at night. I'd drive 4 hours every Monday just to go be a part of this little writer circle of aspiring authors. It was a lot of years of trying every which way and dealing with a ton of rejection. You send out hundreds of emails and no one responds, kind of thing.
How did you finally find your agent then? Did you find her at a writer's conference? Did you just email her?
Oh no. I mean, I emailed, and I've heard, and you've probably heard this, I've heard agents say, the agent I ended up getting was like, I never even look at the emails. I only want to meet them at these conferences because it's just too much of a pile. And I know that's not always the case for sure, but that I didn't have a whole lot behind me. I had no books and, not a social platform, and I wasn't a celebrity, and there was nothing I could really provide except for my book. And it's really hard to get an agent to look at your book when you don't have anything. So, I think what happened for me is I realized when my twins were 3 months old that I wanted to go to my first writers conference. I dealt with enough email rejections and just, sending stuff out into the void and no response. So I drove through the night with my twins in the back with my husband to Philadelphia, was awake the whole night we got out there, rolled out at 7 a.m. to my first pitch session, which,
oh my gosh, after no sleep,
I would run out every 3 hours and go nurse the twins in a room. I mean, it was pure chaos, but it gave me that chance to pitch my book and meet a real agent face to face for those 15 minutes, which that experience was so foundational to me. That's literally the opening few chapters of my book that's coming out in February. That'll be called The Perfect Rom-Com, and it's about a ghostwriter writing for this big romance writer. But anyways, it starts out in the pitch session at that conference because it's just such a crazy experience. But anyways, I got rejected left, right, up and down by everybody for 3 days. It was very discouraging. And then at the very final end of the 3rd day, they had the big finale, and there are a few hundred people in a room. And I was wearing my 3-month-old son in a wrap, actually, in the back of the room, just kind of waiting to leave. And they had
Oh no, have we
Are you
frozen?
there?
You froze. You scared me. I thought you froze.
Hello?
Are you there? I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Can you
Keep
hear me?
talking. Keep talking. I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay. Okay. So essentially at the very end, then I heard my own words to my book. I had sent in my book with everybody else before the beginning of the conference, and there was one grand finale winner of the writing conference at the end, and it turned out it was my book. And so I came up to the front, I got a check and I smiled, and I was wearing my son the whole time. And an agent came up to me after that and he was like, so you're going to send me your book, right? And I was like, you just rejected me an hour ago. And now I'm pretending I forgot it. But of course I'm so desperate, like I'll take anything, but it gave me the confidence to go to a bigger, better conference 3 months later, all the way in Texas. So I left my, 4-month-old twins and really gave it a shot for 3 days. And I did get an agent there, and then I wrote 2 more books. And that third book is the book that the publisher ended up taking. So, and it turned into a 3-book deal. So it was a lot of ups and downs. It was a roller coaster.
The third try was the charm. Well, and I think there is not an author on the planet who doesn't have a tale to tell at some point in her career. I always say everybody pays their dues, sometimes at the beginning of your career, sometimes in the middle, like I did, sometimes at the end, but we will always have it. We will always pay our dues at some point. And I remember one of my career crashes, and I had gone to a conference and I thought I had an agent that was going to be the agent. I thought she was interested, and I get to the conference and she rejected me. It was horrible. I still remember that. And then I came home from the conference to learn while I was gone that our cat died. I'm like,
oh no.
This is horrible. It is, oh my gosh. And I remember once, and this was again in one of my Who Am I phases, being at a conference and having to do like a group story pitch. That was awful. I hope I never have to do that again as long as I live. It was just, I don't know. It was just so stressful, throwing out this idea to this whole group of people, fellow writers and agent. Oh my gosh, it was terrible. But the moral of all this is that, in case we end up with some aspiring writers listening, don't give up. You're going to go through, you have got to wade through the deep waters to get to the other side of the bank, where happy land is, so you can't quit on your dream. You just can't. And I think you're a really good example of that.
If you love writing enough, I don't think you will quit. I mean, that's the thing. I think I've met a lot of people, and you have too, I'm sure, where writing sounds like a fun occupation. It sounds like a fun idea, but there's a difference between people who think something's a fun idea or might have an idea in mind, and people who are like actually derive great joy from writing the story. And I mean, do you think so too, or what do you think?
I think you really have to be kind of driven. I mean, it has to be something you're going to do no matter what, whether you get paid or not, or whether anything happens. Although it is much nicer when you get published because you want people to, to read you. By the way, guys, I will throw out, if you have questions about the writing world or for Melissa in particular, feel free to post them. I'm trying to make sure I monitor and say hi to everybody as they come in. And hi to Tamara. Thanks for joining us. I see Lisa's here. Hey, Vicki. This was so much fun when we did our little Caribbean cruise. I went with one of my readers who became buddies from a cruise that she'd gone on previously. And lo and behold, we ran into Judy Brees and then Vicki Versetti, and I had a really good time getting to know Vicki and her husband on the cruise. So it's really fun to see you here, Vicki, enjoying this with me, having a chance to talk to Melissa. So, but if you do have questions, guys, feel free to ask them. We will try and answer them. But okay, so getting back to you and your writing, tell us a little bit about what your process is. I'm assuming that, like me, you come up with the idea first. The idea hits you, and then you go from there. The big idea. What's the big idea for this book? Is that a good guess? Did you hear me? Uh-oh. Guys, I'm sorry. We're having technical difficulties for some reason. Are you hearing me okay? I don't know why we're having problems today. She keeps freezing on us, you guys. Can you hear me? Do a thumbs up.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you said, how do I come up with my ideas?
Yeah, is it come start as a concept or how does it start? How does a Melissa book begin?
Well, mine tend to start with wouldn't it be usually something happens, I see something, experience something, and then it's oh, wouldn't it be funny if, and then X, Y, or Z. And usually that mixes with something in my life. I start with the wouldn't it be funny if, and then throughout the writing, deeper stuff happen about probably things that I'm going through and things that I want to work through or whatever. So it's like the character is going to end up working through a process, a struggle as I write it. But the idea, the concept for it would be, wouldn't it be funny if? Because it's a rom-com.
So can you give us an example? What book? Give us an example from one of your books.
Okay, so Meet Me in the Margins. Let me find. No. I've got this one right here. This is close. All right, so this is the Cul-de-sac War. This is the second book I wrote. And this one actually, I was during a conversation with a friend. I have a crazy friend. He is hilarious and he is one of a kind and he really is like a character in a book. And essentially we were hanging out at his house one day and his neighbor came out and he was like, oh, that's so and so, she just stole his mail or took his trash can, or I forget what it was, but he was like, yeah, we're kind of having a thing. And I was like, what? And he's a very upstanding, normal guy. So for that to happen was not normal. And essentially he said something like they were having a fight over an invisible fence line. So they have, they both have 10-acre backyards. And yet in these huge backyards, the neighbor was upset that basically the dog fence, she said, was 4 inches on his line. Like, it is fine, right? And but he actually went on a Saturday and went out of his way. This is how ridiculous and hilarious he is. But he went out and he literally dug up an old phone line just right next to the actual invisible fence, but just an old phone line, just to wave to her and be like, ta-da, look, I'm doing it, and just pull it up. And she was like, that's right, and never complained about it again.
Oh my gosh, that's just bizarre.
And I was just like, you can choose your house, but you can't choose your neighbors. And wouldn't it be funny if you for some reason needed your house, loved your house, but you really had some issues with your neighbors? And so that actual scene ended up in this book, The Cul-de-sac War, and it's what began a war between two people.
That is very funny. Now, Pam has asked, she says she hasn't read any of you yet. So what book should she start with of yours? What Melissa Ferguson book should she start with?
Well,
I'm saying you should start with a new one because the girl needs sales, but what do I know?
Yeah, I was going to say a different one, but also, I don't know how you feel, Sheila, but I always love my newest ones because that's the ones I've been, I like to think hopefully I grow as an author every time and learn a little bit more. But this one is How to Plot a Payback, and this one is now in your local Sam's Club and, your Barnes & Noble and online and places like that. So, but this one I had, especially if you like audio, I love this book for the audio. The audiobook narrator is my favorite audiobook narrator who exists. And I wrote this book. She's British, by the way. These are British narrators, and they just have the best voices.
Yes, they do.
You what?
I said, yes, they do.
Right? So I pretty much ask my editor every book if I can have a British narrator, and she'll say things like, Melissa, your protagonist is in Montana. No, you cannot have a British narrator. And I'll say, fine, okay. So with this time, I said, well, next time I'm going to make him British then. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do all this research, and I'm going to make him British just so I can get a British narrator. So I did do that. Finn Masters in this book is British. And essentially what happens is he is a screenwriter, and gets an opportunity to write. She's holding it up to you guys.
Well-trained child.
Oh my gosh. He gets the opportunity to essentially write for the equivalent of Rachel Green, Jennifer Aniston on Friends. And who is this person? Lavender Rose. But she has unintentionally been ruining his life since childhood. And so now, all of a sudden, he gets the opportunity to plot his payback. And so it's a lot about the writer's room. And basically, I mean, it's a fascinating world into basically the 12 people who go in this writer's room and have a very short period of time where it sounds like university exams on caffeine steroids, where they're writing together a scene or an episode for a show, and they're snappy and they got to perfect it, and they do it week by week and write a new show. And that's what he's doing in the writer's room. And she is the one who has to deal with his paybacks. And so it's an enemy to lovers sweet rom-com. So this is the one I would start with, especially if you like British narrators on audio.
Now, how did you research this then? Were you actually able to talk to somebody who works in a writer's room?
I was not. No, that would have been. Well, I talked to a few actors,
Okay.
but not the writer's room. I read a book on, or maybe a couple books on the life within the writer's room.
Oh, cool.
And there was one about the life behind the scenes of Friends from somebody who was in the writer's room on Friends. And it's a crazy, fascinating world because they're just like fighting for these jokes and ripping things apart. And Sheila, you're a writer. Can you imagine writing your book super fast with 11 other people, going hardcore at it with you? I think that would be fun madness.
Oh yeah, totally. Well, and hard too, because when you get that many egos in a room and everybody thinks their line is the best line. And I have done writing in the past. I've done co-writing on songs. And even that also, though, with books, the one thing I've learned over the years career-wise, whether it's a book or a song, you step back and you go, this is a product. We all want to make the best product we can. So how we're going to make a good product. So, it's funny how your book goes from your baby to toilet paper. Here's my toilet paper. How can I make the best toilet paper? So,
yeah.
And I imagine there's some of that involved in that too, but it sounds like a really cute book. But then I've read a lot of your books, and they're all really cute and really fun and really clever. And you guys, she gives you a sweet, charming, light read, put in the category of what they call closed door romance, I think is the new terminology that we use. So you're going to get the romance, but they're going to say, okay, goodbye now. We'll see you later. We're closing.
Yeah, romance without the spice.
Yeah. So just a little bit of sizzle and some sweetness here, but we're not going to give you too much of the racy stuff. And I think for a lot of my friends on here, that's a good fit. So, and I know a lot of you guys love humor, so Melissa will be a good one for that. So tell us real quickly before I let you go, a little bit about your life. You're juggling writing, and you've got your farmhouse, and you're a big presence on Instagram. Tell me a little bit about how that worked out with you becoming an Instagram influencer, because you really are.
How
did you become such an influencer?
How did it work with me? Yeah. Well, I got on Instagram because at my first writers conference, they said you have to be on Instagram. So you can't get a book deal anymore unless you are on social media. So I got on social media, and then I spun my wheels for a long time trying to possibly get anyone interested to follow me, except I had no books. So how do you tell people, how do you have an author account when you have no books out? It's a big catch-22. It's a big problem. So what happens, Sheila, as you know too, a lot of authors will end up like, we were a big group of aspiring authors, and we're just one big kind of incestuous pool here, cheering each other on, genuinely cheering each other on, but also, that's not our target audience. That's not actually going to impress a publisher and give you a book deal. So I was like, I don't know what to do. I mean, I really feel stuck. And around that time, we were looking for land. I kind of got the bright idea. My husband's a builder. And all of a sudden, it took me several years to realize, wait a second, he could build me a house. He's building other people's house. Hang on. And so, sure enough, and actually, I just got a children's book deal with Tommy Nelson. Going over this, it's a fun. I think it'll be called Our Friendly Farmhouse after our Instagram, and it's the story of essentially how we took that brave route and moved. Went to an auction, got the land, moved out of the suburbs, and built this house up and this farm life too, and this slower living commitment to slower living, and kind of a sweet childhood kind of thing. So essentially, while I was doing that research, though, I came across some accounts, and my mind was blown, because in the author world, among my friends, if you got 1,000 followers, you are big time, or if you got 5,000, you're big time. And all of a sudden, when I was looking up houses on Instagram and homes and like home decor, all of a sudden there were people with like 100,000 followers or 200,000 or 500,000, and I genuinely didn't realize it got that intense. So I realized, you know what I could maybe do is start just sharing about my build and sharing about our home, and just make it less about my books and share about my books on occasion, as they come out, but really just share about my life and motherhood and our what becomes our chickens sliding down the slides into kiddie pools and, whatever. And so that's what I started doing, and it worked for me. People resonated with that. So that's how that happened.
Very fun. And it is a fun account. For those of you who are doing both Facebook and Instagram, I want to encourage you to follow her. It's Our Friendly Farmhouse, right? And it's just really cute. It's fun to follow and see what's going on with Melissa and the kids and the animals. And it's just a sweet little account to follow. So although it's not a little account, it's growing all the time. So guys, I know I've about exhausted our time here now, but I want to thank Melissa. I want to wish you all the luck. How to Plot a Payback is the new book, you guys. I think you're going to really enjoy it, going to want to read it, and a lot of her back list too. So be sure you check this new list. And thank you so much, Melissa, for joining us.
Oh, Sheila, I always love talking with you. I love your books. It's always a blast. So anytime.
Very fun. And thank you to all of you guys out there for coming, for all my readers. And I know some of you will be watching this after the fact because you're busy, but I appreciate those of you who took time to join us live, and looking forward to meeting some of you when I go on tour here. And meanwhile, we'll still be hanging out, having fun on Facebook and Instagram and everywhere else. So thanks again for joining us. And we're going to say an official goodbye. I'm going to end our stream right